The rules of the world. Candela Obscura takes place in a world that resembles our own. The average citizen neither knows about nor would believe in magic or its effects. There is a barrier known as the flare between this realm and the beyond. There are places where the flare is weakened, referred to as thinnings. These thinnings allow metaphysical energy known as magic to seep through the flare. The myths, legend, and folk tales of the fairylands are stories created to explain real magical phenomenon. Rules of magic. Magic can be infused in mundane objects, places, and beings, permanently altering them. If a thinning is opened wide enough, creatures from the beyond may come through. Anyone affected by magic or from another realm is known as a phenomenon. Bleed, okay, so here we go. Bleed is the corruptive force. Bleed is the corruptive force left behind by powerful magic. This bleed also radiates from the phenomenon that have made incursions into the world. When a person has too much bleed, they may be taken over by these supernatural forces, become corrupted, or die. The manifestation of bleed varies based on the phenomenon. People with inherent magic are rare in the mundane world. Many Candela Obscura members interact with magic by wielding powerful artifacts. These items may reduce, contain, or eliminate bleed. Rules of Candela Obscura. Members of the Candela Obscura are investigators of supernatural phenomenon attempting to protect the world from these dangers by securing and studying them. The organization has a hierarchy that includes a council of light keepers who direct the resources of Candela Obscura. A small party sent out by a light keeper to investigate a phenomenon is known as a circle. Okay, so that's what a circle is. That is like your group. A small party sent out by a light keeper, which is part of the council of light keepers. A small party sent out by a light keeper to investigate a phenomenon is known as a circle. The mission is known as an assignment. There are Candela Obscura chapters, local enclaves of many members throughout the world. Each has access via a thinning to the organization's transdimensional vault known as the Fourth Pharaohs. The Fourth Pharaohs is the fourth iteration of a lighthouse stronghold that sits within the flare. The fourth iteration of a lighthouse stronghold that sits within the flare. Inside there are vaults where the most powerful books, artifacts, and phenomenon are kept for safety. The security of these vaults is maintained by centuries-old, constantly turning magical astrolabes. The remainder of this document is designed for you to either use as a source of inspiration to build your own adventures, with more guidance and tools to come from the Candela Obscura core rulebook. The Quickstart guide includes a first look at the world, the secret society itself, additional organization for Candela Obscura to encounter, and a full example assignment that you can run. So this also has a full example assignment you can run or customize. The guide is a tool for you to utilize rather than a set of edicts you must follow. Okay, the mechanics. Hold on, I'm going to refill my glass this morning.
Oh, it's time for a Yeti hug break. Yeti hug break, Yeti hug break. Everybody go hug yo Yeti and show yo Yeti some love.
Preparation. Candela Obscura is played in a series of assignments given out by the Circle's Light Keeper, a character played by the GM. Each assignment is a mystery that should last between 1 and 3 sessions and come to a conclusion before the next assignment begins. All player characters or PCs will need one of the 5 pre-generated character sheets available alongside this quick start guide and 9 6-sided dice. So it looks like we are going dice pool. 9 6-sided dice called D6 for short. 3 of these dice should be of a separate and distinct color. They will be referred to as Gilded dice, and the remaining 6 dice will be known simply as standard dice. Your group will need a circle sheet for the team as a whole, and we recommend supplying field guides for each player to reference during the game. Okay, so yeah, the field guide is like a player reference. They are also included along the Quick Start guide. Additionally, you will need a GM to run the session. Their job is to guide the narrative, control of all player characters or NPCs, and describe the world. KY87 says this is heavily influenced by Blades in the Dark and Vassin. They're credited on the last page. So we had Blades in the Dark on the list to look at. So we have not looked at Blades in the Dark yet on the morning grind. Okay, dice mechanics. Candela Obscura uses the Illuminated Worlds D6 pool system. When there is a question of whether or not something will happen, and there is a potential consequence if you don't, you'll make a roll using this pool of dice and take the highest result. On a roll of 1 to 3 result, you'll make a roll using the dice pool and take the highest result. You're taking the highest result. Okay, on a 1 to 3 result, the roll is a failure. You don't accomplish what you wanted, and there are consequences. Oh, we have partial or mixed success in this game. On a 4 or 5 result, the roll is a mixed success. so this is you accomplish. It's not exactly partial success like we were talking about when we were talking about RPG design yesterday and the day before. So on a 4 to 5, you accomplish what you wanted, but it comes at a cost. I think that's generally easier to adjudicate than partial success, because if you accomplish what you want, then that's a binary. Okay, so on a 6, the roll is a full success. You get what you want without any major unintended consequences. So you accomplish what you wanted, but I think it's generally easier to come up with a cost of success than it is to say what is a partial success in many cases when you're trying to adjudicate that at the table. That doesn't necessarily mean it's easy, but I think it's easier than adjudicating partial success, because I can think of a lot of times, okay, you get what you wanted, but what's some kind of weird thing that happened or terrible thing that happened while you were doing it? So on a roll of a 6, the roll is a full success. You get what you want without any major unintended consequences. On multiple 6s, the roll is a critical success. You get what you want and something extra. Actions represent your character's proficiency at a given maneuver under pressure. Each has a rating between, we use under pressure in Faded Edge. Each can have a rating between 0 and 3, denoting the number of dice you roll when performing that action. The higher the value, the more skilled your character is in that area. If you have no points in an action, decide not to spend a drive to add dice to the roll, you can still attempt the action. In that case, roll 2 dice and take the lower result. Note that you can't get a critical success on this kind of roll, even if you roll 2 6s. So if you have no points in an action and decide not to spend drive, I suppose we'll figure out what drive is, to add dice to the roll, see page 5, you can still attempt it, but in that case, you are rolling 2 and taking the lowest. Danny wants to check the room to see if anyone in the crowd is watching her circle. The GM tells her to make a survey roll. She has an action rating of 1 in survey, so she rolls 1 die. So that was what stuff was getting bubbled in was. Oh, no. Drives. Drive are as a resource you may expend and replenish during a session. Oh, no. They represent your character's ability to push themselves past their standard capacity. You can spend 1 drive to add an additional die, 1d, to a roll of an action that drive encompasses. You may spend as many drive points per roll as you have available. For example, if you're rolling with move, you may spend points in nerve to add additional dice. You may spend as many drive points per roll as you have available. For instance, if you're rolling with move, you may spend points in nerve to add additional dice. Your dice pool can never have more than 6 dice, so 6 is the maximum. So you've got to spend points in nerve. So we saw that over here, drives and max down there. All drives have a maximum, which determines the highest amounts of points your character can have in that drive. Your sheet also displays the amount currently available, which is a number that will decrease as you spend the available points. Okay, so this is like the maximum number of drives you can have in a certain type of thing, and then how many you have available. Another player can assist you by spending one of their own drive points for plus 1d. Though an assisting player can only spend 1 point of drive per roll, multiple players can help you carry out your action. When another player offers aid, they should describe what they do to assist you in the narrative. It's up to the GM's discretion as to whether or not your circle members are able to help. So drive is not universal, it looks like. Drive, you've got nerve, cunning, and intuition. You can add dice. If you've got nerve, you can add dice to move, strike, and control. Cunning, read, sway, and hide. Intuition, survey, focus, and sense. Not getting critical successes on untrained skills is a typical PBTA mechanic as well. Sable Phoenix says, okay, now question, are the something bad and something extra laid out as discrete options? I don't know. We'll find out. I don't know exactly what that means. Gilded actions. If an action is marked as gilded, represented by a filled diamond. Oh, the filled diamond. Oh, so we had things that were filled out by the diamond. So that's what that meant. So maybe you were supposed to, let me check this over here on the pre-gens. So when we were looking at it, we were looking at filled in diamonds. On this one, we've got certain things. I'm looking at the pre-gens now. So we did have certain diamonds filled out. We've got 2 diamonds filled out on each character sheet. But then we don't have filled in dots. I guess this is why I didn't notice it. But now that I'm looking at it now, some of those circles underneath those are bolded. So maybe the bolded circles were the ones that were supposed to be skills rather than filled in. I did not catch that on the first run through. But here, I'll show you. Like, for instance, check this out. So this is the scholar. So we've got control, the diamonds over here, control and focus. But those two under sway, I've got two like bolded circles. I wonder if that matters. I got two bolded circles here. I don't have them filled in. That's a lighter color circle. I got none under move, one bolded under control. So we do have that variation that I didn't notice. Gilded actions. If an action is marked as gilded, represented by a filled diamond to the left of the action, you will always replace a standard die with a gilded die when rolling. If you choose the result on that die, you recover 1 point of the drive associated with the action you've rolled. This represents a character's ability to recoup themselves after pushing their limits. You may choose the gilded die with the goal of recovering a drive point, even if the result is lower than one of the standard dice rolled in your dice pool. Cat rolls with control to see if the character can successfully pick the lock on a door. They have 2 points in this action, and it's gilded. They choose to spend a nerve drive to add an additional die to their roll. They now roll with 3 dice, one of which is gilded, and choose a result. The 2 standard dice is 3 and 6. Gilded dice is 5. So roll 2 standard dice, 3 and a 6. The gilded is a 5. Cat could take the full success, but instead they choose to replenish 1 point of their nerve and take the mixed success on the gilded die instead. So Tomocrat says the gilded dice are used to refresh the drive. I really like that setup. Resistances. Resistances are a PC's way of pushing back against a consequence. Anytime you don't like the result of your roll, you may choose to spend a resistance from the pertaining drive. Nerve, cunning, or intuition. You have 1 resistance per 3 maximum drive. Pushing back against consequences. Anytime you don't like the result of your roll, you may choose to spend a resistance from the pertaining drive, nerve, cunning, or intuition. You have 1 resistance per 3 maximum drive. This resistance does not go away if you spend your drive points. For example, if your maximum drive is 4, but you've spent 3 drives, so now you have 1, you still have your 1 resistance. After spending a resistance, you re-roll the number of dice equal to the rating of the action used for the previous roll. I think I'm going to need an example here. You may not include dice from any other spent drive or assistance you initially received. If the action is gilded, you may still roll with a gilded die. If the action you are re-rolling has a value of 0, you roll 2 dice and take the lower result. You must accept the result of the new resistance roll unless you spend another resistance to roll again. So Carlos has 1 point in strike and spends 2 points in nerve to roll 3 dice. Okay, that's spending the drive. I got that. The highest result in the pool is 3, so he decides to spend a nerve resistance to re-roll. Because he only has 1 point in strike, he re-rolls 1 die. The new result is a 4, a mixed success instead of a miss. Abilities. Abilities are the unique moves available to each character. So it uses moves right here. Isn't that also World of Darkness, people are saying right here? For the purposes of the Quickstart guide, you'll only have 3 abilities available on each pre-generated character sheets. The primary engine of the game is built around an action, rolls, and consequences. The primary engine of this game is built around action rolls. These occur during moments within the narrative when the result of a player's decisions are unclear. Action rolls should not be used for every move a character makes. The investigators in Candela Obscura are competent and highly trained, more than your average person within the setting, so you shouldn't roll the dice for unhindered actions such as walking down the street or climbing a ladder. That being said, if you're trying to remain hidden and there's a monster chasing you, it's probably going to require a roll to avoid the dangers while you do it. Ultimately, it's up to the GM to decide when dice are rolled and which actions are used. However, as a player, you can make suggestions or ask for a roll to achieve a desired result. Remember, this game is a conversation. You expect to work with the rest of your table to create the best story and game experience together. The game sets the stakes of the roll, low, normal, or high, to indicate how dangerous the consequence might be and tells you which action to roll. You roll a number of dice equal to that action rating plus any additional dice gained from spent drive points, and the GM determines how the fiction evolves based on your result. By default, the stakes of every roll are normal. There could be an important consequence to failing. The GM may lower the stakes if the situation is safe, or raise the stakes if the situation is particularly dangerous. The consequence of a low-stakes roll won't put you in immediate peril, whereas the consequence of a high-stake roll will almost result in always taking D damage or finding yourself in a very difficult situation. D damage. This caught my eye. So D damage is circled. There's an extra D in damage. It says spelling error. Are you sure you're okay to be back so quickly? I'm worried about you. Somebody wrote back, I'm fine. Thank you for the catch. So a bit of in-universe lore or something like that. I wish, so I have read World of Darkness, but that was a long time ago. I wish I were more familiar with it, since everybody in the chat is saying that how influenced by World of Darkness this is, or how they could even take parts of this and add it back to their World of Darkness game. It's been a long time since I've read World of Darkness. It was before I was even putting anything on YouTube, so I don't really remember. Fighting enemies. Candela Obscura favors investigation over violent confrontation. That is to say, though you will fight monsters, and we certainly hope you will fight many, combat is not the focus of gameplay. Just like in any other portion of the adventure, when your circle faces off against enemies, your GM will make moves based on the player's roles. The consequence of a failure or even a mixed success might result in an adversary attacking a character and dealing out one or more marks. Your GM may even surprise you with unexpected consequences based on your results.